These poor goddamn space pirates, when are they gonna learn to stop messing around with this goddamn Phazon? It never leads to anything good. So I've actually covered this on the channel before. You'll know that I'm a huge Metroid fan. In fact, one of the first games that I ever bought with my own money was definitely Metroid. And it was an incredible experience for me. Then, a couple of years later, after there's basically radio silence with the exception of Super Metroid in the early 2000s, we get the Metroid Prime series. And what made this such a departure from the original games is that this was actually in kind of like a first-person perspective, which was really cool. Now, a lot of people were not really sold on the idea at first until the game released, and it was absolutely outstanding. And I was very lucky. I actually played this on the original GameCube, which was phenomenal. And in my opinion, it's a very underrated system. I think it's really cool, and I still have it right now. I'm actually looking at it in my studio right now, and I'm wondering when I'm going to fire this bad boy up, because the graphics for the Game Boy for its time were pretty incredible and a very powerful machine. So for those of you keeping score at home, I actually have all three variants at the time of the filming of this video. So we've done the Gravity suit, we're now doing the Phazon suit, and eventually I am going to get to the Various suit. A little bit out of order, but we'll get it done. So today we're going to be reviewing First4Figures version of Samus Aran, the Phazon suit version, the statue review. Let's take a closer look. Now, hands down, the Phazon suit for me is probably one of the coolest suits that Samus has ever donned. Just in terms of the color palette and how menacing it looks because of the darks, reds, and the dark blacks, it just looks really freaking cool. Now, thankfully, I actually really am in love with the sculpt of this. It looks epic. I like the fact that she's kind of holding out her arm in defiance, and she's got her cannon, or the Phazon cannon, so to speak, kind of going to the back. Now, what's really cool about this piece is definitely in the way that they painted it. It is a black, high gloss finish, but it has specks of silver in it, which is really cool. And the overall design of this is really awesome. Now, you can't really see her face in the actual visor, so I think that's not so much of a letdown, keeping in tune with the whole kind of mystery of the Phazon suit, so it's done very well. But color palettes are really fantastic here. Now, the midsection of this piece is equally impressive. Now, not too much of a departure from the rest of the armor set from what we've seen in the other suits, but the color palette is what really makes it stands out. The reds offset against that high silver, and of course the blacks look really cool. And I'm really gonna be joyful to show you how this thing lights up, because it's absolutely amazing. Overall, you see how modularized the armor set is, no surprise there, but pay particular attention to the sheen. This is plastic, obviously, but it does look like metal, like some kind of alloy, and they did the effect very well here. I'm so happy that they did this finish spectacularly, and I have to say, in terms of the other figures, no quality control issues, which is kind of surprising. We know that the First4Figures, particularly in this line, has had a lot of QC problems. Now, the lower section of this piece is spectacular as well. One of the things that I like about this piece is that it is centered. In other words, sometimes you have a bit of a leaning issue, particularly with the, I believe it was the Gravity suit, that really had a problem that it was leaning a little bit too forward at an angle, and I didn't really like that. Now, the boots are sculpted very well here, very nice, kind of alien looking. Color palettes are really great, but what I really like is how the color palette is tapered off at the boots. It's really nice. It looks like it's kind of melding into the actual suit itself, and also has these really nice gunmetal finishes offset against the black. But really, to me, the eye catcher here is how the reds kind of blend in gradually like a strata into the suit, and it's done very well. I absolutely love the overall end result of the paint job here. Now, this thing is freaking awesome. What I like about this cannon is the Phazon cannon is very unique. It's a very unique and powerful weapon in the Prime series, but the translucency here is just really spectacular. It has this kind of indigo blue to it, and it is transparent, so you can see somewhat of the components inside, which is really freaking cool. Now, when I light this bad boy up, or when I light this bad boy up, I should say, this is gonna look really freaking cool, guys. Now, no appendage to speak of or anything like that. It's pretty much the way that it's sculpted, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And you'll see what I mean in a moment in terms of the overall quality of how this bad boy lights up. Overall, the profile here just looks really freaking cool. Now, not too much going on the reverse side, so you don't really have to mirror this piece. Nevertheless, though, I like that they didn't skimp on the details. The helmet is done very well, and of course the morph ball on the reverse side is sculpted expertly. Now, the thing that I really like about it is how all of these things come together to make it like a really epic stance. So even if you're looking at her from the back side, because of the sculpt and the way that she's jetting out her arm, looks really great. Now, one of the things that I really like, a greater appreciation of how she attaches to the base. No quality control issues, so when I set her in place, the lights don't like flicker out like the gravity suit did, which was really a pain in the ass. Now, no surprises on the base here, pretty large, has a very big footprint, but what I like is the screw attack symbol. The black offset against the silver looks really freaking awesome. Believe it or not, and I think this might be just psychosomatic, but it seems to me like this is more sleek. It has a lot to do with the color palettes here. Because the blacks and the silvers really meld really nicely into each other, that's what's kind of giving it this sleek design, but overall it's the same base, just a repaint. Now, here's the showstopper, guys. This thing lights up like a Christmas tree, and it is so wonderful. Again, the color palettes have a lot to play with this. You have the blacks offset against those origins where the morph ball is, and just look at how that lights up beautifully. Now, you can't see her facial features when it lights up. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It adds to the mystery of the Phazon suit, which is really freaking cool. Of course, you have the Honda lights, which is what I'm referring to, in the front of the chest area that really light up. But just look at how awesome this is. And I have to say, the video is not doing it justice. This thing actually lights up really nicely. And the cool thing is at the bottom, you can see the light sections taper off along with the color palette. So it's like if they're melting into the suit. Even the light up effects do that, which is very cool. Now, here we go, guys. The Phazon cannon. What makes this very unique is that it has two settings. A solid setting, you can turn it off, and then of course it has the flickering effect like it's pulsating, which is really freaking awesome. If I'm gonna or I say when I should light this up, I'm definitely gonna do it in this kind of pulsating variation, because it does look really freaking cool and breathes life into the Phazon suit, which I absolutely love. This is spectacularly done, and I wish that the other suits had the same light up function where it can pulsate. Now, I get it. Everybody is somewhat disappointed in First4Figures in terms of their quality control, and I understand that, but so far, I really love this line, even though it has a bunch of problems. And if you're only going to get one suit, I definitely recommend this one, because it is freaking awesome to begin with, but most importantly, zero quality control issues. I had no problems with this one, so why you would only get one of them, I will never know as a true collector, but if you are going to decide on just one of them, this one is definitely the one. I absolutely love this piece. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on First4Figures' version of Samus Aran, the Phazon suit, the statue review. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next Route Desert Reviews.